Bama throws the home run to Estrada. Run clock, 2-1, layup good, 1.9 to go. Tigers inbounded, clock hit 0, and let's get out of here and go to the Final Four.
That was the call from the man I'm sitting next to, the voice of Alabama basketball, the man who is sitting in the seat that I think every single, not just Alabama fan, yeah, you're pinching yourself, not only every Alabama fan, but I think basketball fans would love to be sitting in the catbird seat. Chris Stewart, welcome back.
Thanks.
From 2 weeks on the West Coast for the most part, because it was 2 weeks ago on Tuesday.
12-day run.
Yeah, that y'all
Left
flew
on a
out to
Tuesday.
Spokane.
Yeah, flew to Spokane on a Tuesday.
Blew through straight through Spokane.
We did, and played on Sunday, got up on Monday morning and flew to
Sunny Los Angeles.
to L.A., and were there until Sunday morning.
So, yeah.
Flew back yesterday as we're taping this on a Monday, and exhausted, didn't care. Got to celebrate my son's 19th birthday at home that night.
Wow.
And then went to bed. And it's been wash clothes. Well, wash clothes last night and today, and ready to repack once I get home tonight because we got.
When are you headed out? When is that? When is the charter
Tuesday
headed back
afternoon.
Out? So headed back out Tuesday
we don't
afternoon.
have a definitive time, but we're told to be ready Tuesday afternoon.
A lot that I want to get to here, but touching on the emotion on that call that you got to make as Alabama defeated Clemson to move into the Final Four. And I know we've talked about sometimes you kind of will think about, okay, I've got a big night tonight. What can I go with? How am I going to do this? In that moment, were you just kind of, all the emotion was pouring out in that call, or had you thought about what you might say?
There was, we have talked about this, and I don't normally script things. There was an open that I did script. Well, I should go back. There was a really nicely produced open that was done that Tom Stipe wrote. Mm-hmm. I read it, may have put my own twist on a the or an and or whatever here or there, but it was Tom's work, and I simply voiced it. And then Eric Nichols at our Learfield Studios produced all of that. But there was something that I did write to actually start the broadcast that I'd produced. But normally on postgame I don't. Yeah. But with 10 minutes to go, I had remembered something that was in my head earlier in the day, and it was only 2 lines, maybe 2 sentences. But I did run the risk of jinxing it and wrote it on a stat sheet that I knew I would keep close just in case, because I knew in the moment I wanted to have my thoughts clear, because it was something that it did pop in my head, but I wanted to use it at that time if the moment presented itself. And thankfully it did. Thankfully I was able to find the paper and do it, so hopefully we could capture it. Most of what was said was in the emotion. Yeah. And I couldn't hear what was playing, but it was probably where I went, Alabama, and then it pops, instead of saying not Alabama football, but just emphasizing Alabama basketball is going to the Final Four. And that's emotion, that's in the moment. That was from the heart. And, yeah, it was emotional. It was extremely emotional. You don't know if you'll get to do that. You know what it means to Alabama fans. I didn't have to look any further than my left and my right to know what it meant. Because as much as I do, love Alabama and grateful for what I do, where I do it, I got a guy to my right in Brian Passink who's also been on the broadcast for 21 years. Mm-hmm. But he's invested truly blood, sweat, and tears into that program. Played at the University of Alabama, graduated at the University of Alabama, has a child there now like I do, another one that's going to be there next year. It's his school in addition to being his team.
Mm-hmm.
To my left, I've got Tom Stipe, who's a University of Alabama graduate, who has been a part of Alabama basketball broadcast for 41 years. It's his school. It's his team. And as many national championships in football that Tom's had the privilege of broadcasting, he's a huge hoops fan.
Yeah.
And we have nothing to do as broadcasters with winning and losing. We have no control over the outcome. We could do the best job of our careers. And if it's on a Tuesday night loss in November, chances are pretty good not many people are going to ever remember it.
Yeah.
We have a responsibility to tell the story, whatever the story may be. So when you get to tell the story of the best story in terms of an NCAA tournament run, you hope you do it justice. And obviously I hope I did. But for Brian as an alum and a broadcaster, and Tom as an alum and a broadcaster, to know what it meant to them, I knew that my words needed to convey what it meant. And again, I didn't have to turn my head further than left or right.
Well, you crushed it. You crushed it. And then even after the game, I recorded it standing there with my phone, and I sent it to you, where when they sent it back to, the command center, and Ernie Johnson Jr. takes the time to talk about a piece that they had done about you before the game, and then they show your call again, and it takes the time to say, for this man to have this opportunity, they all got emotional as well. You have that responsibility, but you did a great job of not getting too emotional, and you really did it. I'm trying to sit here and think of times when this opportunity comes up for other people, and it doesn't.
No doubt. There are a lot of guys that do what I do, have done it longer, do it better, that don't get the privilege. Because, again, we've got nothing to do with the winning or the losing.
Yeah.
Nothing to do with the outcome. But we're the storytellers, and we are a connection with a fan base, and a connection, and I've said this many times, and I got it from my friend Joe Fisher, who did Vandy games for years.
No one hears those games, by the way. But he may do a hell of a job. Go ahead.
He was terrific.
Yeah.
Got to call a couple of baseball national titles at Vanderbilt,
yes.
And some good years under Kevin Stallings. But this is a story that he told Kevin that I've conveyed with coaches since then, since Joe told me. He said, the way things work in our business is, and he pointed to Kevin, he said, you can be struggling. Your team can be struggling. And you can walk into a restaurant and people will still smile politely at you and wave. He goes, and then they're going to walk over to my table and tell me how bad you suck.
Yeah.
He said, stuff they would never say to you.
That guy's a bum.
They say to me.
Yeah.
And for us as broadcasters to be able to have uninterrupted meals, or meals that are interrupted by people who are so happy because their team is winning, it makes it a lot more enjoyable for us as well. So, yeah, it's special because, everybody's going to be happy. People don't show up and wait outside the airport terminal when you lose a regular season game by 8.
No.
But they sure turned up in droves when you win a game in late March and punch your ticket to the Final Four for the first time ever.
Because let's talk about the Western Division champion, Alabama men's basketball team. What was the mood? Because you traveled with the team for the past 2 weeks. What was the mood going into the Sweet 16 in Los Angeles?
Going into L.A., I think they were really confident.
Yeah.
They had played well, felt like they got, no pun intended, the tide turned a little bit. There was also a little trepidation because we really didn't think Latrell Reitzel was going to play, and he didn't. So how would you manage that? We were not very good when he wasn't playing in that last 2-week stretch of the regular season. But they were very confident and excited. You're getting to play North Carolina.
Yeah.
And it was a program that, even though only 3 guys on that roster were a part of it, Alabama basketball had beaten number 1 North Carolina in a 4-overtime game the previous year.
Right.
They did it out in Oregon, I believe, in the Phil Knight Classic. And so Alabama beating North Carolina had happened recently in history. But this is the NCAA tournament. It's a Sweet 16. We know the history of Bama and Sweet 16 struggles. Only one Elite 8, but it had been 20 years prior. And what do you know?
Yeah.
They were able to get it done again, beat them, and now you've got Clemson, who also you'd played in the last year. But it was this season, and they'd lost to them in Tuscaloosa. Mm-hmm. Didn't play well. But that Alabama team wanted a chance at redemption. Of course, we all thought it was going to be Arizona, who had also beaten Alabama earlier in the year.
That tells you the schedule that they've played, though, that a lot of people
absolutely.
did not know until they started hearing the broadcast going, they played all these teams?
When they lost to Arizona in December, Alabama's record sat at 6-5. They'd lost 3 straight games in Canada to Purdue,
to Purdue,
in
it was in
Omaha to Creighton on their home floor, and then in Phoenix in front of 18,000.
It was a murderer's row. Yeah.
Arizona fan. But they had played Purdue very close. They had played Creighton very close, and they led Arizona with about 8-10 minutes to go before that one slid south, and you lost 15-20, whatever it was. So they knew they could play with them, but the fact was still the same. They were 6-5. Kept it together, got better, finally got it figured out. Had, again, a great chance to win an SEC title. Didn't. Finished a game out of what would have been their second straight and third in 4 years. But get back to the dance, get back to a third Sweet 16 in 4 years, and played terrific in the wins against Carolina and against Clemson, and punched that ticket.
One of the interesting things that people have said to me over the past couple days is somebody always steps up. And I'm like, yeah, they do. But on some of those games coming into the SEC tournament where they had played poorly down the stretch, we hadn't had that one guy kind of step up and take the game over. And really it has been, be it Grant Nelson, be it Mark Sears, it's been a different guy in each game that has come up and just kind of put everybody on their shoulders, and everybody else has played to that level then.
Yeah.
And I think that's the one concern is like, okay, is somebody going to step up against UConn? Who's going to be that guy? Because, in the week leading into it, Alabama plays Saturday night. They've got the late game, which is still an early game for you when you're out in Arizona. Sure. The talk is about UConn. Yeah, the talk is about, and they are the defending national champions. The interesting thing is also the relationship with the Hurley family. Mm-hmm. You've got Dan Hurley, Bobby Hurley's brother. Bobby Hurley hired Nate Oates to be his first assistant. That was his jump into the college game.
Dan recommended Nate to Bobby.
So the question is, who's going to get to practice at Arizona State? Is it his brother or is it Nate?
Yes.
Or is it,
They'll both be granted time, I think. I don't know where they're going to actually practice. That's a great question.
But,
I'm listening. I'm just thirsty.
No.
So keep
there
going.
are a lot of elements. Yeah. Oh, it's a water break. It's a water break, and we lost our water. We actually need somebody to come by and walk and just squirt water. No, I'm good. Give me a spicy Coke. Spicy Coke.
What a shock.
Yeah, spicy. You know me.
That says spiced and not spiked.
That's right.
Okay.
But there are a lot of elements to this game of who is going to be the next one to step up. I don't think anybody's shaking these up, so it's not going to. Not like the confetti we were talking about you bringing home. Yeah.
Opening the Coke and Golden Flake chips.
Yeah. So Chris had brought home some extra confetti, and I was joking that while you were on the plane with the air pressure, it was just going to go poof, which would have been amazing.
Would have been fantastic.
Just keep celebrating. But the continuation of who's going to be the one to step up. That because, you don't have, we've talked about the newcomers, yet they are veterans.
Yeah.
So there's not one or two guys that are like, get on my back.
Look,
I've got you.
Your best players have to play great this time of year.
And now we've got word that Latrell Reitzel is going to be.
You almost said Latrell Sprewell.
I did almost say Latrell.
If we had Latrell Sprewell in his prime, that would be
That would
helpful.
be great. Heard he was going to be back at practice this week, so I know it's hopeful that he would be able to play Saturday night.
Yeah.
But it really has been a different guy.
It has been. And Mark Sears has been great. Mark Sears has been
some
phenomenal.
of his step back threes were just
it's what he
a
made
thing of
7
beauty.
straight.
Just a thing of beauty.
He was fantastic. He's got to continue to be, if this team's going to do something in the semifinals.
Yeah.
But the reality is, we don't beat Grand Canyon without Mohamed Diabate in the last 5 minutes.
Right.
He comes off the bench, was fantastic. So Diabate's your guy that's not among your regulars that gets it done. Sam Walters hit a big three in that game as well. He didn't do much else offensively, but he hit a big three there. Then you had the North Carolina game. Kid struggles. And Grant Nelson has the best game he's had all year, goes for 24 and 12, which I say best game. He may have scored more, but he certainly didn't have one that was more important than that. And, oh, by the way, 5 blocked shots, too. Supposedly Bama doesn't have a rim protector. Okay. Gets it done.
Still fly under the radar with that.
Yeah, that's right.
Keep that one in your pocket.
So he was great in that game. I'm not going to say unsung hero. We know he's got to need him to play well. But Bama has won games when he wasn't great.
Right.
It's a tougher climb without him, but he played his best when Bama needed it in that one. And then you turn around and poor Jaron, who struggled against the Tar Heels, his hometown team.
Yes.
Didn't his
mom play for North Carolina?
She just play. I think she was a 3-time All-American there. So, I mean, that was a tough deal on a personal note for him because he didn't play great, but team won. That was all that mattered and all that mattered to him. But he comes back, and he didn't have a great start even in the next game. I joked with him. I said, man, your first 4 shots never touched the rim. I said, thankfully, 2 of them did go through the net.
2 of them were almost field goals.
2 of them were – when he let one fly, and we're a little bit shielded where we were. We're beyond midcourt to the right side, and he was shooting in the far left corner.
And you
normally can't tell, but when he let this one go, it was so far off. I thought it might land around the free throw line.
Yeah,
I mean,
you're looking at the trajectory of it.
Hope it slipped in his hand. I know that's what I would say.
Yeah,
but it was bad. But he makes 2 and then shoots another air ball from the right wing. But then I think he made 5 in a row after that, or 5 of 7 from 3. That's what it was. Finishes with 19 points. Unbelievably good. And so glad that he was, because Alabama needed it bad.
Well,
needed
and then
it bad from him. He was great.
Another one we need to talk about, Nick Pringle, who did not make the team charter on its way out to Spokane.
I heard.
And it wasn't just that he missed the flight and overslept, because the irony is that, I don't know if you saw Little T here, happened to be on his flight, got the picture of him, on the connecting flight out to Spokane, but then seemingly gets the message and has a great run for Alabama. And you hope that this
leadership role.
You hope that this was the final kick in the pants that he needs to see his potential and opportunity.
Well, he is a guy that everybody around the program loves.
Yeah, you want to cheer for him.
And he can be emotional. He's not always channeled it the right way.
Mm-hmm.
But, man, and I'll give you an example. And I haven't talked to him about this. But he, when he got the technical in was it Grand Canyon? I can't remember which game he got the technical. I think it was. But whatever the case, whichever game it was, he gets a T. I think it was because it was when Latrell got hurt. And that's the whole thing. I don't think he was mad at the call. I think he was mad that dadgummit, he's hurt again.
Yeah. The situation more than the call. Yeah, exactly.
And breaks a clipboard. Well, gets teed up for that. And I get it, But it's not like he was irate. From my understanding of the situation, it's not like he was mad at anybody or was having a blow up with anybody. A T is a T, but still, that's one of those that to me was just more of an indication, if that's what it was, how much he cares about his teammates and how much he knew Luttrell meant. And regardless, you can't let your emotion get the best of you. But that's what that was. And, man, he loves to win. He loves his teammates. He's trying to rally everybody. Again, none of us handle I know certainly in my case, I do not handle situations always correctly at almost 54 years old. So to vilify kids sometimes that are, 18, 19, 20, 23 even.
That are still in the maturity too. The maturity that comes with the
emotion
experience.
of that moment when you've invested everything you have for that and that opportunity, and it's not going right. It can happen, but it's part of learning and growing, and the way he's managed it is a big reason why this team's where they are.
Exactly, and you hope that the final message has come through, and him saying, we need you. Without you, we would not be where we are today, getting ready to play in the school's first Final Four.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it sounds like Saturday night with, you're starting to hear about the charters being put together, that a lot of Alabama fans are now making plans to head out to Arizona for this coming weekend. And Saturday night, I'm really jealous about, because Saturday night is one of the biggest nights in the industry of college basketball. It's not just the game, it's when all the head coaches from all the programs gather to go to this game, and
convention,
it's
assistants
huge.
Are there this week. There's
there's a lot of
on.
hiring going on this weekend too. But it is going to be it's going to be a game like any other, unlike any other, because first of all, you're playing in a huge facility that they're playing out in Glendale. Just the enormity of the crowds and everything. And I know for Coach Oates, it's his first two.
Yeah.
But he is so prepared and is, just dogged in the sense that the Washington Post story about his graduate assistants who are always, watching in analytics and breaking down and stealing signs. And, in basketball, sign stealing is not as complicated as football. Yes, anyone who's played basketball knows, as you said, when you hold up, if they keep naming a color, that's the play.
Yeah.
If they keep throwing up a number, that's the play.
Right. So I didn't read the story. I saw the headline. And part of what I am told is that the headline's misleading because it comes across as a negative hit piece, and that's not what it was.
No, not at all. But yes, when you see it, you're thinking, what are they doing now?
Yeah, what now? But it was actually pretty complimentary from what I understand. And they do a phenomenal job. And if you're good luck trying to figure out a play at the pace Alabama plays, whether you're Alabama trying to figure out somebody else or you're trying to, this is not football where it's even with a hurry up, no huddle.
Where at 1 minute they have a picture of a supermodel with the letter K and then Diet Coke.
But I know if
you're too busy calling the games.
If
evidently,
it was supermodel though, I would have found it and wondered what her mom looks like, because that's the age I am now. Okay.
You go into this game and the numbers about UConn are staggering. When you look at that, they had a 30-0 run in the last game. They've won 10 consecutive tournament games by double digits, going back to last season.
Stop. You're going to ruin this.
During that streak, they have trailed only once in the second half by 2 points for 17 seconds against Iona. And also you hear a lot about Donovan Clingan. And I had to put his name in there, so it's not Klingon, because that's how it looks to me. And so I have
live long and prosper.
I have,
but that's all I know about Star Trek.
I'm not saying it's scary, but it is daunting when you look at the fact that you have drawn the defending
is.
national champion and a coach like Dan Hurley.
Yeah, and he was at Rhode Island before UConn, right?
I think so.
They came to Tuscaloosa and played a few years ago, maybe Nate's first or second year, and Bama barely beat them or something like that. I can't remember, but there's aren't many guys more intense than he is, and he's done a great job. It's a program where they've won before, but harnessing history and turning it into forward direction is not that easy to accomplish, and he's done a really good job.
Well, and initially starting off in the shadow of Gino Auriemma. I mean, when you think UConn, you walk into that building, that's...
Yeah. You think in the past of Jim Calhoun on the men's side or the present in Gino Auriemma on the women's, and you're right. It's it's tough to create your own path, but he's done it quick.
Yeah.
And he's done a great job with it, and they're not as dominant as maybe some other teams have been in that spot historically. But to me, they're very reminiscent of UNLV and their dominance. But remember, they beat Duke by like 30 in the Final Four.
Yeah.
1 year with that great team that Jerry Tarkanian had back-to-back years. Stacey Augmon, I think, and I can't remember all of them. But anyway, they were great. It was basically 4 or 5 pros playing against a young Duke team.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Duke got older the next year and beat them by 2 in the national championship. There are games, Rolly Massimino and Villanova beating Georgetown after they'd lost to them 3 times already that year, and played the perfect game, held the ball, different time, different era, different set of rules in some capacity. But it is a very everybody loves the underdog. In Bama, it's not an unbelievable scenario whatsoever to see this Bama team getting it done. They've got to play great.
Yeah.
They can't have an off night shooting it. They can't be off defensively. But they don't have to be perfect and do something they haven't done at any time this year to give themselves a chance.
Yeah.
That being said, their best gives them a chance. That doesn't mean it'll be enough to win, but their best does give them the best that they've already played this year gives them a chance. If they're hot, if UConn can't stop Alabama from playing at the pace they want to and executing offensively, and if they're sloppy with the basketball and Bama's able to force some turnovers and make that pace go even more rapidly, yeah, Alabama can absolutely win this basketball game. But they can't be average or slightly above to have a chance.
General health of the team, pretty good?
Yeah.
With the exception of Reitzel that we're still waiting to get official word.
Pringle, was really struggling with his heel. And
yeah.
I think until the adrenaline started to really pump after some big plays were made, that it suddenly wasn't bothering him anymore. He wasn't thinking of it, but you've got some time. He, I'm sure he'll be in a boot when he gets on the plane. That'll be protective as much as anything else. I can't remember. I think he was in a boot yesterday. Come off. That's not uncommon.
Right.
A lot of guys do that in a lot of sports just to help alleviate pressure as you're walking around trying to get ready for the next contest. But
I just wanted to get on the flight first, too. Just
that's
make
right.
sure you got a good seat.
A little different. But he, again, Nick being healthy, everybody's beat up, banged up, exhausted, but it's also the Final Four.
I was going to say, it's a good exhausted. It's
absolutely.
It beats coming home, because I have to imagine the flight home. I mean, because the emotion seems to be not stunned that we're here, but gratitude and I'm not even going to say disbelief, because they know how hard they have had to work to get here, and that when most people outside the state of Alabama were filling out their brackets, that Alabama was not the natural choice to put in the Final Four.
Well, you've never had Alabama in a Final Four before. They've only been in one in Elite Eight.
Yeah.
you've got to be a fan or just have quite a gut feel or be an idiot and get lucky
because we have
have done that.
We have our traditional 4 versus 1 and then our traditional 11 versus 1 on the other side of it. And, I guess it is nice that, yes, Alabama is going to be a story once they get out to Glendale, but NC State is going to be kind of the bigger story of the Cinderella. So it's not as if everybody's pointing the cameras and microphones at you of saying, can you believe you're here? They're looking at those folks instead.
Yeah. It's 2 great games, 2 very interesting storylines, could be potentially 2 blowouts.
Yeah.
But you could also have 2 semi-Cinderellas playing. I mean, obviously NC State would be.
Yes.
But, on the one hand, nobody was expecting, with the way the season finished for Alabama, the Tide to make this type of run. On the flip side, there are people, yours truly included, who said this team would be playing its best basketball in February and March.
I want to give you credit for that because you have said from the jump that this is a dangerous team.
It would be a dangerous team that would play its best, barring health issues, and that's what derailed them for a while. That's what kept them from winning. I believe, with all the respect in the world for Tennessee, the reason Alabama didn't hang on and finish it off is they weren't healthy enough and didn't know how to get it done without Reitzel at that time. But here they are, learning from, the issue was not the absence of Reitzel. The issue was the absence of defense.
Right.
That, with avoiding foul trouble by and large, allowed them to still get the job done, to still get into the next round, pun intended, and then the Final Four. So, yeah, they've got a lot of things figured out, but you probably need all hands on deck and everybody at their absolute best in order to get this done and get to the national championship game.
And the credit that Nate Oates is getting and will continue to get even after the season's over, that he has had to restock on his assistants and grad assistants, that he has had to go out and restock on players. And the fact that he can create an environment with which each of them can play their best, fit, and mold together.
Yeah.
It's the new, I'm going to say, cocktail for college basketball, because this is the way we're headed.
It is, but you know what's really interesting? All those guys he lost last year. Now, a couple weren't expected. Charles Bediako, they thought was going to be back. They thought Jaden Bradley was going to be back. But Jaden left because he thought Javon Quinterly was returning, and he wanted a chance for it to truly be his team at the point guard, and he was for Arizona, although he was the first guy off the bench. He thought it was guard heavy, and he would have a better chance to shine, and great program in Arizona, no fault in that. But then JQ leaves when they weren't expecting it. So two key pieces were gone, in addition to the 9 new players. And, oh, by the way, 3 assistants all get Division I head coaching jobs. Yep. And whenever this season ends, we've joked about it with him on air several times, Austin Claunch is now the head basketball coach at Texas San Antonio.
Yeah.
But he ain't been able to go work on that because he's still at Alabama as the assistant. So 4 assistants in 2 years are getting Division I head coaching jobs off Nate Oates' staff. He's got no shortage of resumes sitting on his desk now for somebody to be next in that mix. So it will be, it is absolutely a destination place for coaches or for players. And there's a real good chance, what I was going to say is last year, 2 first-round draft picks in Brandon Miller and Noah Clowney. And now you're sitting here looking at a roster that I don't know. I'd take him, but is the NBA going to take Mark Sears?
Yeah.
Undersized, certainly in the first round. he will have the opportunity in all likelihood to consider the COVID year. Grant Nelson, same thing. The only guy they're definitely going to lose is Aaron Estrada, because he's had 5 years. He's got to be done. But everybody else could be back.
Right.
Point is, this is not a clear
We're not clearing the slate again
lottery.
next year.
Yeah. I mean, you could, because you never know what's going to happen. Maybe somebody wants to go closer to home. They want to go play somewhere else.
Yeah.
You know, they throw oil money at Dallas native Rylan Griffin, and he decides to go home and play somewhere. Who knows? But hopefully not. And it's again a case where Nate Oates has built a program in addition to building a team that has gone where nobody, no other Alabama team has gone before.
I know, and they're headed there without an SEC regular season championship ring. They're headed there without an SEC tournament ring. So I'm guessing that they will create at least a Final Four ring of some kind.
There will be a Final Four ring. Teams that go to the Final Four get a ring.
Yeah, it was
because you are a champion.
Yes, you're the Western Division
you're
champion.
The West Region champion.
West Region champion.
Yep, West Regional champion.
West Regional.
We're used to winning Western Division
of directional
titles in football.
type things. Yeah.
Yeah, the West Regional is something that you've won. You've earned a ring on that. There are teams that give Elite Eight rings, and that's fine. I never fault somebody for doing whatever they think is best for their program. But
they give them out every week at Little League World Series. That they have
and
some
runner-ups, don't
here
even
you go.
get me
Come on.
started.
Here's a trophy.
Yeah.
Here's a ring. Okay.
Let's make little Johnny feel better.
That's right.
Go win, little Johnny. Then you'll feel good. Otherwise, you stink. Go
it's
practice.
winning that feels. As I tell my
does.
kids that every day when they get out of the car. I'm like, go kick some ass and let's win, because winning is fun.
Go get
That's
your
what's
orange
fun.
slices. And
That's right. Look at us. I know. Sorry.
Get off our lawn.
Reel it back in. Do you have to arm wrestle anyone for a piece of the net?
I was kindly given a piece of the net. Our radio crew was, and we split. I just wanted a little bit of that to put on the counter.
Just a tendril.
Just the visual reminder.
Yes.
So yeah,
that's awesome.
I've got that. Tom and Brian and I were kindly given that, and we decided to split it.
You should have gotten up on the. Shouldn't like.
I'm afraid of heights. I never even dated tall women growing up. I was afraid of heights, but it's not true. I remember one. But anyway, there was we had to make sure we got a fourth, and he doesn't even know it's coming yet, but he won't listen to this podcast. Jerry Kelly, our producer, the one guy on the broadcast you never hear from, but has been a part of the Crimson Tide Sports Network out of Learfield for 25 years. And Jerry's phenomenal, great to work with. He's become a friend, and we made sure we got a piece of that for him, and there's probably going to be a little shadow box with confetti and a little piece of the net, and
that's awesome.
And eventually the rings coming too.
I mean, that's pretty. I've never known someone who has owned part of the net that came down from advancing to the Final Four. So I'm impressed. I am proud.
I had nothing to do with it, but I am grateful.
Okay,
for it.
You were in Los Angeles for like a couple. Did you have any celebrity sightings? Well, I have to ask.
You ready for this?
Yes.
This is what's hilarious. And Dunaway and I have laughed about this, and I've kidded our friend about this.
Yes.
As well. So Taylor Hicks is a big basketball fan. Taylor's a big basketball fan. Wait a minute. Just wait. Let me get there.
Sorry.
I've told it before. I'm so old. I called Taylor's high school basketball games on local cable access when he played at Hoover. And so I've known him forever. And he texted me and called and said, hey, we got tickets coming to the game with a couple of friends. And, we're going to go to dinner at his place called Dan Tana's.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And it's a famous little place. And he goes, we got reservations, 8:30. Welcome to join us if you'd like to. And I said, well, the crew's got reservations at 8. So we all met at the bar there at the restaurant before our appointment, got to visit a little bit. And then when it was at the end of our meal, I went and visited Taylor's table for a little bit. And he said, well, I'm going to go see the guys back there. And So he did. We ended up swapping tables for about 15 minutes and hung out. So I did get to see him and celebrate after the game in the team hotel.
That is funny.
Raised a glass and to toast the Tide.
You're like, I could see you back in Birmingham.
And he had a buddy with him. That was the other thing. I think it's Elliot Yamin, who was also on American Idol. Okay, he was on American Idol too.
I went to high school with Ryan Seacrest, so that's my only connection to American Idol.
Look at you.
I know.
That's pretty good right there, trump card. But I kidded him, and I said, "You got to be flipping kidding me." I said, I go all the way to Los Angeles and spend a week, and Taylor Hicks is the biggest celebrity that I've seen. Man. I said, I've known you from Hoover, for crying out loud.
But
so
y'all did draw
that was my celebrity sighting.
You did draw some good, within the crowd, there were a lot of Alabama celebrities with Robert Ory.
Yeah, that's true. I got to see Robert.
So there were some in terms of Alabama
Bryce
celebrities.
Young was there.
Yes.
Didn't see him. Hollywood Robinson, fittingly, was there as well. It was a cool trip. There were a bunch of Bama people there.
Any celebrity sightings in Spokane, Washington? No.
No, but a great town.
I've heard
wonderful, beautiful little town.
Yeah.
The Riverwalk, which was, and this was incredibly convenient, safe, clean. Our hotel was on one side of the Riverwalk, and on the other end, half, 3/4 of a mile walk, maybe a mile at the most. I don't think it was that long, was the arena itself. Beautiful, had waterfall.
Did you demand a golf cart come pick you up?
No, I did not demand anything. When you're my height and you can't run any faster than I do, you don't demand a thing. But I didn't request one either. But it was a cool, really cool, because it was like 35 degrees coming back one day. But it was a nice, really cool thing to do. They've had the rapids there, truly beautiful. And so got to experience that and had a really nice time, and the convenience of not having to get in a car and just being able to walk that.
Compared to Los Angeles.
Nice. LA's LA, and you got to see Hollywood, and we did, Rodeo Drive, just taking in that site and all of that. That was cool.
Yeah. And I know, Coach Oates, with the turnaround and as prepared as he is, I know that he wasn't like, come on, guys, we're all going to go to Universal Studios and have the shark come out and we'll all take our pictures. It is a business trip. And I know that the reason you're out there is to do. You do
this
have
time of year. You're exactly right.
Yeah, and
if that's a December tournament,
that's the Thanksgiving or a Christmas tournament, you're going to take some time.
You take in the sights.
Go to the children's hospitals.
Most coaches will let you do that sort of thing, and it's the difference in football and basketball. Football guys, bless their hearts. It's the reason I'm always going to be an advocate for bowl games. Don't tell me that these bowl games that don't factor into a national championship have no relevance or meaning. That may not for you as a fan or an observer. That's fine. But for the guys that really put the work in, for the ones that go, they get experiences they never get during the year, and that they'll remember the rest of their lives.
Yeah.
Because normally a football team flies in on a Friday night.
Yep.
There is a bus waiting on them on the tarmac. They get on the buses. They go to the hotel. They eat. If their game is a late kick the next day, sometimes they'll take the team to a movie.
Yeah.
And bring them back to the hotel just because it's going to be a long day the next day. Otherwise, they see the stadium, the hotel, the airport, and that's it. But on a trip, they actually get to hang out together, spend a few days at a site. Even if it's a bowl game that factors into the playoff, they at least get to enjoy a little bit of the team time together in the experience of that town. You don't get that during the regular season.
No.
Basketball, you normally get that opportunity some.
Yeah.
So
no, I know that as y'all head out to Glendale now, I know this is a business trip, and
it is, but they'll see some things.
Some fun stuff. Yeah,
First of all, it's a Final Four. That's the coolest part of all.
So y'all are planning on leaving sometime Tuesday, heading out to Glendale, Arizona. You'll have the late tip Saturday night, and it's not on CBS. It's on. They have like the triple cast. If it's on like TBS, TNT, True
It'll
TV.
be on the Crimson Tide Sports Network.
They will be
That's
on the
all I
Crimson
know
Tide,
about.
and yes, you can always find them there. That's the nice thing is you don't have to go searching around. We can also find you at chrisstewart.online.
That's right. Thank you.
chrisstewart.online. And I hope I don't see you next Monday. I hope that
You're not the first woman that's ever told me that.
I know. We talk often, but I hate that you're going to leave me for a week. I hope that a week from
you
today.
You are the first woman that's ever told me that.
Okay. But I hope that maybe we can talk via Zoom whenever we do next Monday before or after.
That would be
getting ready for the national championship. Because this is exciting.
It is exciting.
This is a time unlike any other for Alabama basketball fans or just Alabama fans in general.
I'm not Jim Nance, but getting to, Nance always so jealous for years. He did the Final Four and the Masters in the same week. Mine's not bad. I'm going to get to Final Four in the A-Day game in the same week. It's not the same, but for me, it's
that's
up
good
there.
living.
That's not bad
that's
for me.
That's good living for Alabama fans.
Not bad for a Fairfield boy.
Well, take care.
You
Travel
too, partner.
safe. I will hopefully maybe see you next Monday, but a big thanks to Scott Forrester, who's back there, always making us look as good as we can. And
that's well put on your part.
I know, just putting some lipstick on this pig. We thank you, Scott, for every single week. You can find him at chrisstewart.online. And before we leave, we need a hearty Final Four.
Roll Tide.
For Chris Stewart, I'm Kelly Hunter. We'll see you back next week. Take care.